Hey, y'all, guess what time it is? It's the Grolic Saves the World time.
All right, the Grolic saves the world.
That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're getting fixed, our worries are mixed. Let's have some cake. While the Grolic saves the world. We're getting fixed, our worries are mixed. Let's have some cake. While the Grolic saves the world. We're getting fixed, our worries are mixed. Let's have some cake. While the Grolic saves the world.
Put the kids to bed, crack open a bottle of nice red wine, preferably something with notes of dick jokes. It's Grolic Saves the World time. My name is Adam Caton Holland.
I'm Ben Roy.
And I'm Andrew Orbadal.
And I'm trying new stuff up front, guys. I'm trying to get catchphrases going.
Everyone's in their car right now on the way to work. There's nobody putting their kid to bed.
Put your earbuds in and recline in the front seat and crack a bottle. It's Grolic Saves the World time.
If you don't know, this is the podcast where through your earbeds, as Adam said.
Is that what I said?
Yes,
you said earbeds. I mean, it kind of works.
You're reclining.
We take on passive aggressive challenges aimed at helping ourselves and just by association, hopefully the world around us. A couple episodes ago, I've got a challenge. I'm just going to say it right up the top.
Whoa,
I've been
this
stewing.
is fun.
No. I've been stewing. It's not
coming in hot.
You all took a shot over the bow at me with the roller coaster challenge, trying to put me in my place, targeting my fears. Because I'm afraid of roller coasters.
Mm-hmm. And it worked. It was great. One of our most popular episodes. Yeah.
And in our defense, we could just throw darts blindly. Odds are we hit one of your fears.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you guys know I'm very stable mentally. I don't understand why I'm one of the most. I'm brave. A lot of people call me brave.
That's brave.
Yeah. You even said it in a pretty brave way.
People have said
What's your guys' favorite
brave?
movie? Braveheart.
So Adam, I felt like though after I went back and I listened to this episode, you were very much the aggressor. You came in hot at me.
Adam came in like it was prepared and he was reading it off of a podium.
You should have seen me pacing in my office before we recorded that day. I was just rehearsing. I needed to nail it, and I feel like I did.
You did.
Well, I would like to return the favor.
Oh, great. Oh, joy.
Cool. We'll go on roller coasters again. No big deal.
Let's go on the roller coaster.
No, because all that's going to happen if we do that again, Adam's going to show up hungover, ride one roller coaster, and almost barf on all of us because he's so hungover.
I learned my lesson. I've improved. I won't ride roller coasters hungover at 10 a.m. anymore.
See, that's growth, Adam, and I like to see
you.
that the podcast is already having.
It's working.
He's changing, and thus his neighborhood is changing, and I like that. Well, as you know, Halloween is coming up. It's right around the corner, and when this episode comes out, it'll come out a couple days after Halloween.
And there is just a autumnal energy in the air, Ben. I've been feeling that. I don't even need to look at
you
a calendar.
You can smell the wood.
I can tell.
Burning. I mean, that's mostly from the fires in the mountains, but
I'm just out in my front yard staring at the horizon, sort of processing the seasonal change.
Yeah. Well, and this is when you go into your
like you're in some sort of erectile dysfunction commercial, just standing out there staring into the middle distance.
I got my robe open. I'm grabbing the newspaper, and I just stop and look.
So flaccid. He couldn't get it hard to be tried.
Just
ask your doctor if Evalrex is right for you.
Flaccid as the limp leaves blowing by.
Evalrex is the best name for How much? What dosage are you on of Evalrex now, Adam?
I snort about 750 mgs every morning before I get the paper.
Before you go out, so you go out again. Well, you got to have a place to set the paper.
Half bat.
No, what I was thinking is a lot of people who are listening to the show, what they don't know is that Adam is terrified of scary movies. He does not like horror movies, not a big fan of horror movies, and
oh, God.
a particular genre. And when we were doing Those Who Can't, if everybody saw it, we did a horror movie episode each season because Andrew is such a big fan of it. I myself love the genre. Joey Slayman, who was one of our writers for 2 seasons, amazing human being. She's a big horror movie fan. So we used to do it. But Adam was not very well versed on the genre because he does not like them. They legitimately scare him.
It's not true at all. I have a film degree from Wesleyan University. I took horror and science fiction and seen a ton of movies. I know the history of horror films. I don't really appreciate this sort of simplistic approach to my knowledge
Adam,
of horror.
you're ruining the
came to
challenge.
my opinion on the genre, Ben. It's informed.
Well, but you do think they're scary. Film degree aside.
I love horror movies, but I have not seen the amount that you guys have because there's certain ones that I just feel are like maliciously cruel. There's nothing clever going on. They're just like, here's some horrific shit. I don't know, designed to gross you out. It doesn't take you on an engaging ride. It's just like horror for horror's sake. Like they're just trying to do it as base as possible. And that's what I fucking don't like. And I know I'm exposing my weak spots here, but like The Hills Have Eyes of the worlds and like shit like that. I don't want anything to do with that. But give me a fucking Shining, give me The Exorcist, and these are like some really good, well-made horror movies. I fucking love them.
Yeah, but that's not what we're going to do today. So, and that's fun. I just more want to make you uncomfortable. And being, our schedules right now are pretty crazy with us all traveling and doing shows and whatnot. I think what we do is we each give a horror movie that we think is truly terrifying and scary and would scare another person in this group. And we sit down and watch them, and you have to. And then we come back and we report our thoughts on the film and how you felt about it.
Wait, so we each give a movie, like I get to give one as well to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Andrew and I will, clearly be trying to aim this at you, Andrew.
To make it, well, I have a genre of horror movies that I don't like either. In fairness to Adam, and I think maybe Ben should reveal his scariest genre as well. My most, or I guess I should say least favorite horror genre is the home invasion genre, where something is happening inside the house. I always had nightmares about that as a little kid. I had like a recurring nightmare where I would hear someone coming up the stairs and it was all dark. And I was like looking through the railing on my bunk bed. There was like this little slat where I could see the doorway of my room, and the door would just very slowly creep open, and there would just be like this silhouette of a person there in the doorway. I would have that dream all the time.
Your dad, he'd finally come home.
It was... I mean, he got those cigarettes in Chile, and he said they were worth it. But I would have that recurring nightmare, and I do not like home invasion shit. That's my least favorite genre. It gives me the genuine willies, particularly because after the movie's off, it's nighttime. You all have seen my house. My house is a horror movie set ready to go. Hey, need to shoot a creepy slasher? I have your set. No art department needed. Bring in the cameras. Let's roll it. It's a creepy property at night.
But
it's
most people,
real dark
when they watch
and
horror
real quiet.
Movies, they go to the house of the victim, not of the person perpetrating the crime. And that's what your house is clearly. Mine is probably the more realistic feeling ghost or haunting thing where it feels realistic. Like that are
like the Paranormal Activity stuff where it even presents it like it's real.
Paranormal Activity freaked me out.
I didn't see it. It looked too scary. There, I confessed. I confess.
Yeah,
but I asked my coworker, like a little kid in third grade, I asked my coworker for all the details. So I really got to soak it in vicariously as I made them painstakingly describe it to me.
Do we have to give a movie that we feel is good? Like, are you going to just throw me a schlocky gore fest and be like,
I think the goal is to be like, this is a scary movie, especially where Ben is concerned. Ben, I think, is the most... I don't think of Ben as a fiction guy in general. He seems to enjoy, documentaries and books, nonfiction books. So I think he's the most immune to horror fiction. So
None of it.
The goal should be him
honestly,
being like,
I
that
like
fucked
it.
me up. That scared me.
If I like watch something, I'm not. I like ghost stories. I saw a ghost when I was younger, and I.
Here we go.
Wait a minute. You saw a
Talk
ghost?
about bearing the lead. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I saw a ghost when I was. I remember.
We got time.
Okay,
That was your dad coming home.
he went to Venezuela
pale
to get
guy.
cigarettes. I don't.
Boy, I like your father's Latin penchant, guys. I like where they're going.
Well, they have a taste for fine Latin American tobaccos. So growing up, I lived on a hill.
Did the hill have eyes?
I lived on a hill, and the house next door to me sat one level below. So my second story window looked into their attic window, and their attic was not finished. It was an old farmhouse, as most of them in Maine are, and it was very close. Our houses were only like, maybe 25 feet apart, our two windows. And my brother was taking a bird watching unit over the summer for an earth science class. And so he had field glasses, and I used to take them. And in the morning, one morning, I was looking out my window, out of my bedroom window.
You were peeping. You were peeping. Let's cut the bullshit.
Looking around the neighborhood. And as I traced across my yard, and I came upon the attic window of my neighbor's house, and it's an old farmhouse, and the pane, one of the panes is knocked out. The top right corner is knocked out, and when I pass by, as I'm sweeping by, I see a face looking out at me, and I come back and I stop through binoculars at like very close distance. There is a man's face staring out the window. I remember it vividly. He had a beard. He had I couldn't see his eyes because they were shadowed. They were very dark. I started tearing up because it was staring out. And then I pulled the glasses down. I wiped my eyes. I put the binoculars back, and it was still there staring at me.
Good.
And then I remember it did this thing where it turned, but very quickly. Like it went rip like that, and it was sideways, and now it was the side of his head, and it walked away from the window, from that empty pane. This is not, there's no glass in this pane. And he walked away, and that was it. And so after that, I went to my neighbor's house because they had kids that lived next door that were my age. And I went and I was like, is your dad in the attic? I saw your dad in the attic staring at me because I was looking out the window, and he looked mad. And they were like, no, my dad leaves for work early in the morning. He worked at Bath Iron Works. So he leaves at like 6 a.m. And I'll never forget. It's seared in my memory.
Damn,
this face.
dude.
And that's
Yikes.
the only time I've ever seen anything like that. But it creeped me out.
That was his Uncle Johnny, who's just crashing there for a little while.
in the unfinished attic. It's cold up there, but Johnny's a thick boy, and it's summertime. It was, but it's the
Maybe it was one of those Spider-Man situations. It's a real thing. This fucking guy lived in these people's attic for years and would come
that's
down at
terrifying.
night and eat their food and shit. This has happened multiple times. People hiding in people's attics. They have no idea it's happening, and they come down. Could have
I
been
go
that
up there all the
situation.
time. Katie thinks I'm gone. I'm just up there taking
just
a break.
cranking 750s of the Valtrex or whatever down, and
Well,
Evaltrex.
I know what movie I'm going to pick for Ben,
Okay.
and it's one that I
Okay.
need to go make because Ben's given us some really specific stuff. Andrew and I are going to make a film for Ben to scare the shit out
My
of him.
neighbor in the window.
Andrew, do you have your movie in mind?
Yeah, I got a few. Do you want something that's like genuinely fucked up or not so much that?
I want not genuinely fucked up. I want scary, but not genuinely fucked up. I hate when it's like close-ups on gore and cutting
Okay, so
open and
Andrew-
evisceration and shit.
He's
So
giving
that, so
you-
we got to get that.
So Adam has to watch the entire series of The Nick, which was
Okay. But you guys both have to watch Dave Matthews Band live from Central Park, the DVD.
Cool and fucked up. I'm not watching that.
Yes, you are. That's the movie I picked. All 3.5
Terrifying.
hours. Dave
Terrifying
went for it.
and
Dave
fucked up.
was feeling it that night.
I'm already pee-peed. I'm 18 keys. Adam, okay, well, let's go around then. I'll start. How about that?
So we can't do Dave Matthews then. Can't do Dave Matthews.
No, I mean, that's just
It's too fucked up,
scary.
and I have to sleep at night.
Yeah. I have to
Play while you sleep. I do.
I have to look my band members in the eyes again, and I don't know that I'll be able to do that after watching.
Newfound musicianship.
No, seriously, do you guys have something in mind? now
I've
that
got
we've
some
been
in
talking?
mind. I've got some in mind. So who wants to go first? I can go first.
I've got Adam. Are you good?
I've got one.
All right. All right. Yeah, Andrew,
But I don't
what-
like
what-
this challenge. I will say that.
I'm just going to recommend my favorite horror movie, pound for pound. It's still my favorite horror movie. It's got everything I like in a horror movie. Everyone I've ever shown it to has agreed that it's scary. It's called The Descent. Have you seen The Descent?
I have not.
I have not seen
That
The
is a
Descent.
good one. I have not seen The
All right.
Descent.
So if you need to borrow it, I have it on disc.
Have it on my porch by
Yeah.
morning. I'll be in the yard, flaccid.
Guys, if I could just real quick side note, congrats to us for almost hitting 50 episodes with a 1,000% battering average on dick jokes in our episodes. I am so proud of us. Well
Yep.
done.
Yep.
Okay, who's going next?
Adam, go ahead.
Not 1 or 2, but Scary Movie 3 with the Wayans brothers is my... No, just kidding.
Oh, Adam, we're talking. This film degree at Wesleyan is paying off.
It's terrifying. You
You
can see
did your
their...
thesis. You did your thesis on the Scary Movie series.
I did, and then I
how
wrote a
it-
rejected script. The Exorcist is one of my favorite movies, horror
we've seen
movies of
it.
all time. Everyone's seen that. Have you seen The Exorcism of Emily Rose?
I have not,
I have not
seen
seen
that one.
that.
It's fucking terrifying.
All right.
and I enjoy. I don't know. I like that genre. Exorcisms is a good one for me.
It looks scary.
That's what I like. Is I do like based on true stories, like because that adds another layer of just making it so much more scary.
Oh, yeah, totally. When you see that at the beginning, you're like,
Right.
ooh, buckle up. This is an unpopular opinion, but I think Exorcist 3 is scarier than the other two of them. That
It's a scary
I
movie.
think
Do not get me
pound
wrong.
for pound, Exorcist 3 has some of the creepiest shit. The old lady crawling on the ceiling, and that nurse walks out of the hallway, and the fucking wrapped up in sheets comes out with that head chopper. Still gives me goosebumps. I haven't seen it in fucking 30 years.
But to me, The Exorcist 1 was so scary because it like straddled that line at the beginning of feeling very real, and and mostly because I grew up Catholic, and
Right.
you were told that this
Yeah.
could happen to anybody. I'm gonna throw for mine a little bit of a curveball in this. I'm gonna pick one that even I haven't seen, but I've just heard is scary and intense.
Whoa. You're really going out there.
And
okay.
it's a weird one. I don't know that a lot of people have seen it, but I read reviews and I wanted to see it, and I figure we'll all watch it together, right? So this is one that none of us have seen. I imagine it's a movie called Gaia, Gaia.
Oh, I saw the trailers for this. Yeah, this
Nope.
looks like a good one.
Yes,
I've not heard of this or seen it. So
neither have I. I've seen the trailer. I read the reviews on it, and I was like, I want to see this. And so I'm going to throw a little bit of a wrench. I'm not going to pick one that because I wanted to throw the Human Centipede at Adam, but
which is just like you would. That's something that you would so do.
yeah, I think it's funny.
Yeah, give us a bonus that you've seen and that you're like, this is
I
scary
go all
as
the way
shit.
back to Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, an old one. And I like it because there was full bush in it. And
Wow.
Jesus Christ. The scariest part of this episode is you right now. Jesus Christ.
have you ever seen the Prom Night movies?
No.
Oh my God, you're out of your mind. You are
Ben.
out of
We're
your
very-
mind.
we're very much within our mind.
God. 1987. And it was a good year for showing a crotch area. And man, did I love those. I've seen all the Hello Mary Lou movies, the Prom Night
You
movies.
are a character from one of these movies, and it's
You're going down
Terrifying.
first. You're chasing skirt. You're getting murdered soon. That's
It
how
was
this works.
Exact USA Up All Night's finest. Yeah, I would stay up with Rhonda Shears and watch this stuff.
Shout out to Rhonda Shears in prison
For
7
putting
to
up
10.
with
We love you,
Ben.
Ron.
Is the name Rhonda Shears or Ron Da Shears?
No, Rhonda Shears. You don't remember Rhonda Shears from USA's Up All Night? You don't remember? Oh God!
I didn't have a
Ron
TV.
is not
let alone.
Ron is
Oh,
not
I thought that
gay.
was your buddy, Ron
Yeah.
Shears.
No, Rhonda Shears. How do you not remember? How do you not remember USA Up All Night? It was great.
I do. I just don't remember the host's name like you.
She used to go, it's USA Up All Night. She had this like,
All right.
Anyway, all right. We've got our challenge. We're going to watch The Descent. We're going to watch The Exorcism of Emily Rose. We're going to watch Gaia.
This will be great, and I'm terrified, and Katie's thrilled.
If you care about spoilers, we're going to be spoiling the shit out of these movies. So you might want to pause the pod, watch 6 to 8 hours of movies, and then restart it. And you can be familiar with what we're talking about. Otherwise, we're going to get right into these movies.
Yep.
Over the break, if you want to check out our Patreon, we have all kinds of perks on there. You can get a private message directly from Ben.
Yep.
Everyone wants that. You can get a birthday shout out. There's Patreon exclusive merch on there. All kinds of cool stuff. Check it out over the break if you like. That's patreon.com/GrawlixSaves.
Yep. All right. Let's listen to some live stand-up comedy from our live show that is back on last Saturday of every month at the world-famous Bug Theater.
One of our favorites is sure to be one of your favorites,
Absolutely.
Jordan Dahl. And when we come back, we're going to be scared.
Properly terrified.
So we'll see you shortly.
Stay tuned.
For those of you who aren't comedians, there's a space between jokes where laughter doesn't exist and you're all alone and you'll never see your family again. And in that space, people will say really dumb shit in an attempt to get to the next joke. And my favorite one of those that I've ever heard was there was a guy who's an older comic and he's telling some joke and he goes, "Hey, I'm getting older. Anybody else getting older?" Yes. Literally everyone on the planet is growing older right now, sir. What the fuck are you talking about? That doesn't make you sound like a stand-up comedian when you say that. It makes you sound like a vampire trying to fit in with humans by doing stand-up comedy. Like, you might as well come out and be like, "Is everyone else growing old at a normal human rate? Anyone else living a life unprolonged by dark forces as I am?" You're losing them, Mikhail. Oh, why did the human woman start watching Blade 3 instead of continuing on with her quantum leap marathon? Because once you go Blackula, you never go Backula. All right. Scott Bakula joke.
Get out of the trenches of tedious tasks like managing order fulfillment and start growing your business with ShipStation. They'll help increase profitability by automating your workflow with their simple, easy-to-use dashboard. With it, you can pretty much do everything you need to quickly and easily. Update order information, print labels, compare rates, optimize shipments, and even set up automatic delivery notifications. And it doesn't matter where you sell. Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, ShipStation can integrate pretty much anywhere online. Another great thing about ShipStation? They can help reduce costs with industry-leading discounted rates from some of the biggest mail carriers. You might even be able to get up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. So, make this year your most profitable one yet. Sign up for your free 30-day trial at ShipStation.com and use the code Spotify. That's ShipStation.com with the code Spotify.
We are back. That's right. And through the magic of podcasting, give me something spooky.
Like a
Ron.
creaky coffin opening. Woo!
Yes.
Producer Ron, shut the lights off. Guys, let's giggle and hold hands.
Yeah. Let's say the name of our podcast 5 times in the mirror and see
No!
if Ben shows up.
Don't do it.
And see if Ron Doyle and his butt cut appear at your house. Anyway, what a bizarre week. We had to watch 3 horror movies. We each picked one. I picked Gaia. Adam picked The Exorcism of Emily Rose. and Andrew picked The Descent. So let me first ask you two, did you watch the movies?
Yep.
All three of them.
Bruh, yes. And I
Yes.
know you're
Okay.
coming from a place of having been pretty quiet in the old text thread over the last spell. I'm going to say you did not watch all three, Ben.
Whoa.
You're going to say I didn't?
I'm gonna say you
I
didn't.
I watched all three. I was quiet in the text thread because there's a story I told of just an insane trip.
Oh, yeah.
I
Talk
had.
about horror stories on our
To New
Patreon.
Orleans.
Ben has a story that's real life, pretty spooky.
Yes, but no, I did watch all three movies, and
great.
I have opinions on all of them.
It was just hard to
apologize for
believe that you were
presuming.
keeping your opinions
Exactly.
zipped up on the
Normally I
text
do.
thread.
Truly in a bad situation. You kept your opinions from us. That's the first time that's
Unless-
happened in years. We should have welfare checked you.
Unless I feel like I'm fighting for my survival.
Right. and
And-
again, I'm sorry you went through that. However, I was annoyed by your absence in the text thread. Throw us a bone.
It was suspicious, to be sure. But now we know how to cool Ben out. Just, send
Yeah,
some strangers
threaten his
knocking
life.
at his door at around 3:30.
Okay, great.
All right, let's take it movie by movie then.
I just want to say this. I like Grolick's movie challenges. I love doing
Any
these
excuse to
every-
watch movies. I went above him. Not only watched these three movies, I went down the rabbit hole. I watched every movie that I had in my bucket list that I thought was too scary, that I avoided. I watched
Dude,
them all. I
Day
watched all of them.
3, Orbital's like, done. You guys want to come over and watch this movie? Want to watch this movie? I was like,
Yeah,
Jesus, dude.
no, I
Slow
don't
down.
want to. I don't even come over to not watch movies. Why would I?
Yeah, I don't want to come over.
No, this was a fun challenge. I have a couple honorable mentions of horror movies that I watched as well. On top of that, but I think we should start. I think we should just take a look, just go around and start with a movie. And I guess maybe, I mean, I can pick the order if you want, but I guess. My suggestion, let's start with The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Because it's not a horror movie nor a scary movie, so that's a
Why
good
is
one
that
to
not a
kick it
horror
off.
movie? Why is that not a horror movie?
Well, I think Andrew's got. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Andrew has thoughts. This came out in
It's 2005, and I remember when this movie came out, the trailers did make it look really scary. The trailers centered on the movie's main scary scene of Emily Rose having an episode and seeing all these melty faces. Back in 2005, this CGI was considered passable, and the trailer looked scary. And they did a good job with the marketing for the movie. Also, the movie did the tried and true trick of being like, oh, this is a true story. This is actually true. Oh, want to be extra scared. This is true. So I remember the marketing campaign leaned into that as well.
That is what fucking scares me. Any other horror movie, it's a fiction. And it's this insane, okay, and then there's these monsters that live in this hillside. Okay, fine, what a fun farce. When it's based somewhat in reality, I'm like, now I'm fucking scared. Because
but here's the problem. Oh.
Yes, exactly.
come at me, Christian boys. Tell me the problem.
The problem is, atheist boy, that this. I unfortunately read the actual the story of the real Emily Rose, and it is
her name's not Emily Rose.
horrifically-
She's from
No.
Germany.
Yeah, and it's horrifically sad. This was a very quite clearly a mentally ill
Sure.
person.
So the movie, if you're not familiar with the movie, we will spoil all these movies for you. But this movie is presented like a courtroom case. First of all, this movie is the most early aughts flavor
Yeah,
I've seen
no, for
jammed
sure.
into a movie in a long
All those martinis at the lawyer
time.
bar.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I can do without this.
And the
I saw it
weird
a long time ago, and some of those things have
courtroom
not
that-
aged well at all.
I was like, where is this courtroom? This does not seem like a courtroom.
Adam, your dad's a lawyer. Where's his martini bar that they all?
Party deck, Coors Field. He gets thrown out in most games.
But this movie is presented like a courtroom battle, and it goes back and forth between the prosecutor and defense. I will say that this framing was really interesting at first. I like a good courtroom case movie, and it shows you like, oh, this is Emily Rose being possessed and it looks scary. But then the prosecution is like, oh no, here's what really happened. And it would show the same scene, but like more restrained and without the demonic
The hocus
bells and
pocus
whistles.
of- yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is actually an interesting a framing for this movie. I'm into it. And then halfway through the movie, they abandoned that interesting framing and they're like, no, it's just real. She's just possessed. And then it becomes not interesting because it's not
So
scary.
you preferred it when it was a few good priests. is what it should have been called.
I thought that was an interesting take on it. And then instead it turned into this utter hogwash of that she's actually possessed and she suffered on purpose so that she would be like some kind of spiritual beacon, and they just wanted her story told, which ironically enough, the filmmakers, if that was true for the person who died in 1976 that the movie's based on, they changed everything about her. So they did not tell her story. They told a fictional person named Emily Rose's story.
My favorite part is when I'm listening to the prosecution's argument in the movie, I'm listening to it and I'm like, great work, great work. Then the defense comes with the absolute most, what would go down as the worst representation if it were real in courtroom history. Like, she just is like, I'll lean into the fact this is all dog shit. Those closing arguments were insane.
Listen,
Like
you can't stop Laura Linney. You can only hope to contain her. She took a fucking risk, and it was poignant, and you felt for that girl.
The positives to the movie, what's her face? Jennifer Carpenter,
She went
the
on to be in
actress from
Dexter. Yeah.
Dexter.
Yeah, she was great.
She was good in it.
Yeah.
I thought, like,
Did you not? Okay, I all of these are valid concerns. Weren't the exorcism scenes and when she's possessed and walking around college and they're showing it from the church's perspective or whatever, those are fucking terrifying. And I found the setting of a college campus to be a very good horror setting to watch those things, like those
that's because your
terrifying
time
dorms.
at college was a horror show.
It was very scary.
If the movie had
Sorry.
taken place there and been that story of like her being possessed and everything, I think, they could have cobbled together something pretty scary. Since the movie was presenting it like, is it this or this? They kind of like muted their own scare factor when she's seeing all of the melty faces and the dead faces, because you're already skeptical of it because the movie has set you up to be skeptical of it, instead of it just being like, check it out. She's like experiencing this. Also, like I said, the CGI has aged poorly and it was hard to be particularly affected by it.
My problem is two-pronged. One, you're making a movie about an exorcism. You're already wading into an area where, to me, one of the greatest horror movies of all time, The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, and even number 2 are absolutely terrifying movies. Number 1 to me was scary because the beginning of it is so subtle, and the way it's shot and grainy and dark. And to me, the other part is, if you're going to make an exorcism movie, lean into the supernatural part of it.
I hear
Don't
that.
raise the specter that this person could be legitimately mentally ill.
Or keep that
because
throughout the movie to make it interesting and present both perspectives.
exactly. But when you abandon it and you just try to convince me, I'm already like, no, she's just sick.
Yeah.
Like, and this
and
is
it
really
just plays
sad.
like a pro-Christianity propaganda film that my mom would make me watch when I come to visit. It is like, the takeaway from that movie is staunchly, I mean, I'm surprised Kirk Cameron didn't have a fucking cameo in this movie. Holy fucking shit. Give me a fucking break. The scariest part for me in the movie was when she was lying on her dorm room floor all contorted and her boyfriend like leaned in. And she was lying there. That was the most
so
effective
scary.
scene in the movie, I think.
The other one that... sorry. Go
Well, no,
ahead.
there were just two things. Like, we watched it in the mountains, which was a terrifying idea. And I watched several of these movies in the mountains. And, like, it got cold that night. We turned on the heat in our house, which is like floorboard heat. So and there's a detail in that movie where at 3 a.m.
The clock
that's when
stops.
the demons come out and they smell burning. So like we turn those things on and it's that old, you can smell the heat. And I was creeped out in the mountains, being like, I
love that.
cooking.
Well, we creeped you out a little bit. It did none of that for me.
Yeah, it didn't creep.
I went
creep me out.
straight to analytical mind and was like, this poor child, and that priest should be fucking locked up.
Exactly. The exonerating of that priest, like, no, that priest was actually a good guy. And it also like dovetailed with our modern climate of turning your back on science, turning your back on established medical
That's why
professional
I wanted
advice.
You to watch it.
And then in this movie, they put these doctors on the stand who are like, yes, I have this degree and I'm saying that this person needed this. And the movie's like, oh, you're going to believe this guy or this poor priest who we've got locked up? And it's like, no, I want to believe this fucking doctor. What are you kidding me?
And then they brought the counter expert of like an anthropologist who talked about global exorcisms and how it is a cultural phenomenon. I'm like, well, there's proof. Irrefutable. Like, I don't know.
Also, on a side note, why are these demons always carjacking just like young women? Why not the president? Why don't you like... They always pick like a teenage girl, who
lives in a farmhouse in the middle of the
like what's the end game for this demon?
Satan,
other than
you're picking a rusty speaker there, bud. You'd be best to
go more high profile. Maybe Barry Bonds during that record-breaking season was
right.
Was a demon.
That's a guy who had a pulpit.
That's why his head got so big.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's rate it out of screams. Out of 5 screams, I give Exorcism of Emily Rose 1 scream. It was not scary.
Wow.
While I was watching it, I was like, oh, maybe I could like show this to Amelia because she's been high on horror movies. And by the end, I was like, Amelia would not think this is scary, and she would be irritated that I showed her this. So 1 out of 5 screams.
Adam,
I agree. It wasn't as scary as I remember it. However, I found the exorcism stuff scary as fuck. So I'm going to go 2.5 to 3 screams.
The contortion scenes and the scene where they come in and she's bouncing between her knees and her feet and hitting her face on the wall. The other one too, where she's frozen and they pick her up totally like stuck,
and lean her against
like a
the
board.
wall. Yeah,
that was weird. Because of those scenes were effective to me, I will give it 2 out of 5 Cradle of Filth albums.
Okay, great.
What's next?
Let's go with my choice. We'll go with Gaia.
Oh, the vegan propaganda film?
First of all, tip of the cap to Ben for choosing a movie that he hadn't seen. I like that. That was
I wanted
cool
us to
move.
all go in with a new one, and
the trailer was spooky. They cut together
Yeah.
a genuinely spooky trailer.
I'm not entirely sure. Like, I wouldn't necessarily rate Gaia as a horror movie. I would say it's more suspense thriller.
I think it was a horror movie. It had a supernatural element, and it most definitely had body horror aspects of mushrooms and plants growing on people and scary psychological visions and people being consumed by a fungus and killed.
And boobs.
It was a horror movie.
And
it was
monsters,
definitely
yeah.
a categorically
And
a
that
horror
weird
movie.
creature sound, like...
Yeah.
That's like in every horror movie, a weird creature.
I think it is a South African movie.
Yeah,
which
it
is
was.
why it
And
explains
it's
the weird
by far
vibe where
the
they're
newest.
like, we're rangers in a jungle full of dangerous shit.
And it's the newest out of all of them.
Yeah.
I felt like it wasn't a horror as well. I mean, I guess it did tick all these boxes. It felt more like a sci-fi suspense movie, and like this weird parable about like a cautionary. This is where society might be heading if we're not careful, type of thing.
Yeah, and the other thing that I liked is the one thing that stuck with me is that there were some really cool shots.
Dude,
Like,
They did a good job for being it seemed like a moderately low
pretty
budget
low-
movie. I thought they did a good job with the atmospherics and they used the sound design really well, for sure.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't seen the movie, just to recap it, there are 2 rangers patrolling some sort of, I'd presume, African kind of forest jungle, and they get separated and one gets injured and she gets taken in by 2 extreme survivalist types, I guess I would call them. They're living in a very primitive lifestyle in this forest. And then a bunch of like spooky stuff kind of snowballs after that. There's these mushroom-like creatures. If you ever played the very popular game The Last of Us, the creatures in this movie are lifted almost whole cloth from that video game to the point where I'd be surprised if they don't get sued by them. But there's these fungal creatures that are blind and they like click to echolocate where the humans are. That's exactly like the enemies in The Last of Us, which is about to be an HBO series. So if you'd like to see a prequel to the HBO series The Last of Us, enjoy Gaia.
I actually did enjoy Gaia. I thought it was really interesting. It held my attention the whole time. I thought the guy who played the father was like fantastic.
Yeah, he did. He was very intense. I didn't like the performance of the main, the woman. She was fine. She was fine, but part of the problem for me was that it was unclear what her motivation was. Like immediately you'd be like, she wants to leave, right? But then she doesn't seem that intent on leaving this very sketchy situation, even after seeing her fellow ranger consumed by fungus yet still alive. You would think she'd be immediately like, I need to go back to the city. Take me there, please. My survivalist friends.
She couldn't leave because she became mommy girlfriend.
And it quickly gets weirdly blurry. But I feel like they could have crystallized her intentions a little bit more, because it's just, and then she will randomly at points later in the movie be like, we're leaving, like, let's go. I don't know. I just kind of felt like she was kind of inhabiting a pretty wishy-washy space. But yeah, the guy Beren was suitably very unnerving from the moment we see him.
It was also a great twist. In the first 10 minutes, you're fearing these survivalist guys. You think they're the foe. And then, nope, so they're fearing something far greater, which is just a nice, hard twist.
And they don't even really fear it. They, like, live with it, but...
Right, exactly. It's complex. I mean, we're going to sound nuts to people who have not seen these films, but I really thought it was creative and inventive. I don't know how scared I was.
No, I wasn't scared.
But I definitely gave me the creeps of the mushrooms on the skin. Anything like that growing on people's skin, it gets me. It gives me the willies, and then her like picking them out of her skin. It definitely got the gross face from me.
It felt
it was
like
effective.
A giant advertisement for psilocybin, because they really seemed to be curing.
I mean, it looked like a romp. It looked like I'd want to eat those mushrooms. They were like immune. If they ate the mushroom, they had like kind of an immunity to this body-consuming fungus. So they kind of take this communion.
To sacrifice things to get the communion.
There was a tree of life that may have been the dead mother. There was a lot going on in this film, guys.
Yeah. And I feel like they either, the filmmakers themselves weren't 100% sure what was going on, or they failed to execute what they thought was going on.
Parts of it were a little, the message was like on the nose, but on the other hand, like, I thought there was some pretty good special effects, some really great camera work, a couple amazing performances.
At the start, when the male ranger is lost in the woods and he's shining the flashlight around in the trees, very effective, very scary, and we haven't seen the creatures yet, and they're like stalking him. All that super effective. I was like, oh, this is solid. And then unfortunately, they kind of commit the horror movie error of showing the creature in full pretty early on in the movie, and then you become desensitized to it.
Yeah, that was my problem with it, is that the reveal was too quick.
But pretty solid.
Overall, I was entertained by the movie.
Me too.
Yeah.
I
liked it.
I like small budget. I like seeing what people could pull off. Again, I don't even know if it was small budget. It's because it's from South Africa, but I thought it was creative, and I thought that they pulled off a lot of the stuff.
However, this is a scare challenge, and we're rating it on
I'm
Screams.
not entirely sure it scared me.
Yeah, it definitely unsettled me. Like I said, the body horror stuff. Oh, it got me for sure. That's a pretty effective one for me.
Okay.
And anything involving an ancient being in a forest, I'm gonna sign out for that. I'm gonna give it bonus points for whatever that presence was in the forest that the Beren said lived there forever. I'm gonna give it I'll give it 3.5 hallucinogenic spores
Okay, I like that. Okay, Adam, your thoughts?
I'm going to give it, because it's just scare factor alone, I'm going 2 green compost bins. I wasn't that scared.
Okay, as a movie, what would you rate it separately?
As a movie, what would I rate it separately? Like, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's not the type of movie I seek out, so I enjoyed the new experience, but I don't know, B+.
Okay, I will give it, let me see. I will give it 3.5 mower bags. And
So you found it scarier than Emily Rose. Both of you found this scarier than Emily Rose.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Atmospherically, it had better dread. The stuff in the
great.
forest at night was spooky with the creatures.
I like the creatures, even though you're saying they were a ripoff. I thought they looked kind of cool.
And I thought they executed them well. And yeah, they were scared. Like if you were in the forest and those things were clicking around and going after you, it'd be scary.
Yeah.
All right.
Third movie.
Yeah, the third movie, The Descent. I think around the same time as The Exorcism of Emily Rose, probably 2005. And this is a movie that Andrew brought. It's about a group of women who go exploring a set of caves and end up being stalked by these strange cave humanoid golem creature things. This was a pretty popular movie and also led to a second one and a tweet that blew up from Andrew. Let's not forget
Andrew's tweet.
Andrew got had one of his biggest tweets of all time talking about this movie. What was it, 21,000 likes?
No,
or something
33,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
Did
surprised.
you get a bump from that bad boy? Did you get a lot of followers?
No, never.
Okay. Cool.
Listen, if you like horror movies, you'll love The Descent, because it's got every trope they ever could think of, all packed into one. Like a schizophrenic, greedy filmmaker who just wants more all the time with no real direction or style his own. Just copying whatever he saw like a teenage boy on the internet playing horror movie.
So, Adam, what did you think of it? One, there was all of that you just said, and two, you have changed your label on the Zoom screen to The Descent is fucking trash.
And yeah, Adam
said,
texted
Katie,
me that he wanted his rental fee. He wanted to be
I paid
reimbursed.
$4.99 on iTunes, and I want that money back from Andrew because I'm not getting it back.
Absolutely not.
It's a British film. Adam hates British films.
I love the British, and that's just a fool thing that Ben said. I said to Katie when it was done, it was like a teenage boy figured out how to get around parental lock on the internet, and he had like 2 hours before they caught him. And so he just Googled every dark thing he had ever wanted to see.
What are you talking
and put it all
about?
in his fucking film.
Not at all. There's two horror conflicts in the movie. The first half of the movie is the cave system itself. The women are exploring the cave. It's incredibly claustrophobic. It's scary. They realize they're in an uncharted system of caves. They did not file a report so that, people can't find them when they do end up lost in the caves. Even at that midpoint in the movie, it's already an effectively scary movie. If the movie was only that for the remainder of the movie, it would be a thriller. It would be a solid thriller. It would be great. And then halfway through the movie, they uncover these monsters who dwell down in this cave system, and it ratchets it up to this other level. It is those two ingredients that make it an amazing horror movie. It's not like every bad thing. It's not like there's a demon and there's like a guy with a machete. It is not like a smorgasbord of things. It is just those two things.
Andrew, you've won the challenge. This is the scariest film by far on this challenge. So you win on that. However, I found it to be trash. And like the main reason that I can tell you this movie sucks, in my opinion, is the unnecessary pathos that this guy injects into it. As if like the first scene is a car crash a year before where the woman's kid dies out the gates and her husband dies. And it's like, oh no. And then cut to a year later, they're spelunking illegally. And that had nothing. You didn't fucking need that at all. Then they manipulated a backstory where one of the other girls spelunking had cheated with her past husband. None of that shit was necessary. It was them trying to be like, here's some layers of actual like script, right, guys? No, it was just fucking superfluous bullshit.
I disagree. I thought it humanized not only the main woman, Sarah, but the other women, her friends, and that woman, Juno, who had the affair with her.
Humanized. You know what she did to Juno at the end?
gave-
Come on, bro.
Well, at that point,
humanized?
she was absolutely unhinged by that point. She came out of that blood pool like a different person. She came out of that blood pool more like a creature than a person. She'd been broken and pushed beyond her point, and she was able to be broken and pushed past that point because she was already extremely fucked up in the head from the trauma of that car accident. Without the trauma of that car accident,
on a hat of the car accident.
Okay, but wait. As much as I love watching you two just fucking horror movie beat each other with sticks while I stand off on the side, I'm kind of in the middle. I do think they tried to jam a lot of personality archetypes, like it was a little bit tropey. I also thought it's incredibly insensitive to take your friend who has PTSD, surely from watching her husband and her daughter die horrifically, to then jamming her into a cave you've never explored before. Spoiler alert.
But
that would be incredibly shitty.
Well, that's
to do.
why
But
she
that
was
is
such
the
a
point
bad
of-
character. Why they justified killing her off, I guess.
But that was, that character did make choices like that. But they had already established that this group of women, they were thrill-seeking athletes. It was not like this came out of a left field to the point where she was an expert climber. They talked about how she was a daring climber. We see her at the very beginning of the movie, whitewater rafting. It tracked with me that a year later they wanted to convene and kind of do something fun. And then this woman, Juno, selfishly chose the thrill-seeking instead of the more touristy established cavern. She did not sell Sarah on the idea of going to a dangerous uncharted cavern.
No. I'm saying, I mean, that's just a shit thing to do.
Oh yeah. She was a bad person. The real question I have is with the movie is kind of asking where you line up on her decision at the end to drive an ice axe through Juno's leg.
Right.
Because of the things that she's done. She had an affair with the woman's husband. She killed her best friend Beth and kind of lied about.
That was an accident.
It was
and
a
then her
total
best friend,
accident.
Beth lied about it. Like here's what I thought. People responded to your tweet because you talked about how you showed your daughter it and it was so scary, and that was very funny. What was the shocking thing is that you would show this example of misogyny to your daughter. Because this was just like, let's take these 6-7 women, throw them in a cave, and have all of them behave cowardly and ugly. Two sisters pair off, and they're like, forget her. One girl gets
What are you
accidentally
talking-
killed, lies about Juno doing it as an accident. She's like, she did this to me. We all saw it was an accident. It was just like... And I had to look it up afterwards. It's like, oh, of course, a fucking man wrote this movie. Like, I found every
Adam would have
depiction of the
liked
woman.
something more woke, that when they get down there and they get trapped in there, they all just go down on each other for an exceptionally long amount
Thank
of
you.
time.
It's a horror movie.
I
You're
absolutely
terrified.
disagree. They are competent. They don't need a man.
No,
There
it's
is
a
no
fucking feminist awesome
man,
film, Andrew.
necessary in the movie. What all of their reactions completely track with the situation. They're not.
They get down there and tear each other apart, and then one decides the other should die because she cheated on her husband with
They don't tear each other apart.
This is so enjoyable.
The one accidentally kills the other one, and then at the very end, the unhinged one leaves her to die and wounds her with the axe through the knee. And the movie kind of asks you where you line up on it. It definitely does not track like, oh, look at this catty reality show vibe. That is not the vibe
the one
of
that
the
was accidentally
interactions
killed
at all.
lied about the accident before she died off to her friend, thus being like, go avenge me. That was a lie. That didn't happen. We all saw that. The two sisters ran off and were like, fuck
What do you
them,
mean?
let's just
She did kill her and abandon her. And Juno lied to Sarah and said that the creatures got her. She in no way said I accidentally killed her. I made sure she was dead and left her. No, she
Well,
absolutely lies about
guys,
killing her.
I am rarely speechless, but this has been enjoyable. They both
called
really
Peter
lit into
Jackson
each other.
and they said, "Do you have any of the shittier orcs we could use for cave people?"
What are you talking? Those effects are great. Those are great practical
But they were
effects. They're
orcs. They were
scary.
orcs.
They're gross.
They are golems, though.
They're like super golems. But Golem was CGI, and these are like a great practical effect.
I do also get that horror movie. I'm not a total square. Horror movies are like where gratuity reigns, and that's what's kind of fun. But so many close-ups of like a spike to the head and a
it's
fountain
so
of blood.
gory. So
At one point, they showed an orc creature from behind, and he
They're called
either
crawlers.
shit or came. It was like this gratuitous, like, here's some fluid spilling out of this guy's crotch.
they kind of like
what
kept
the fuck
barfing up
is
the
this?
slime. And there's a scene where
I
one
called it,
barfs up the slime on her head. She's like lying there hiding, and it like blah, blah. It is so gory. And so I'll tell this story real quick. But my daughter, who's 12, has been on a real horror movie kick. And she's, so, we're trying to show her some tame 12-year-old appropriate horror movies. And none of them are scaring her at all. And she was been complaining about it. And she'd be like, I want to watch it. I want to watch, she wants to watch scarier stuff. And then I was kind of holding off. And then she watched all of the Fear Street movies with her mom, which I watched like part of the first one. I was like, this is lame. I'm not going to finish these. But they're like rated R content. A woman gets her head put through a bread slicer. It's definitely like a rated R level of
and
horror.
I know Anders like nap time.
Snooze fast.
and my daughter was like, oh yeah, it was like nothing. It was like not scary or anything. And I was like, all right, you want to watch a scary movie? Let's jump to the front of the line. If you want to be actually scared, we'll watch my favorite horror movie, The Descent. And she was so
In that
scared.
moment, you stopped being a father. You became an older brother. You went from father to older brother instantaneously.
She was so scared she couldn't leave the room to go get water afterward.
Now she didn't need water because you kept letting her have sips off your Heineken.
Cool brother.
But I regretted it. And then, like all 12-year-olds, the next day in the shelter of sunlight, she was like, it really wasn't that scary, It had a couple gross parts. I was like, sure, yeah, I'm convinced.
I told Katie that you showed that to Amelia, and she didn't even she looked like she was shocked. She was just not even like,
it was
can you believe what Andrew did? Just
it was
concerned and shocked.
It was a poor choice.
I watched it while incredibly high.
Oh, great.
I accidentally took too much of an edible.
Jesus
again.
Christ.
This is a running theme. This podcast has layers, and lately
Yeah, the
it's
next
been...
College Challenge, an intervention for Ben and his fucking edibles habit.
And I love that it's accidentally got too high the last 6 times in a row.
Oops, I
got
tripped.
so-
I tripped on a caramel and ate it.
And so I just bit into a 10 milligram one, ate what I thought was half of it, probably a little more. And then for some reason, I'm just very susceptible to these things. So I was real stoned. And the claustrophobic parts at first got me.
I agree with that. I agree with
did
that.
not like that. And it caused me to panic. Then when the creature started coming out, I just blurted out to myself, it's like Lord of the Nuva Rings, or like,
Shit, that's perfect.
so, I'm in the middle. I thought it had some you can't have a horror movie without a very gruesome compound fracture. It had that.
Yep.
And then the resetting scene of that was disgusting. The throat being ripped out was pretty cool. By the creature on the ceiling.
Yeah.
That was.
Oh,
that
Ben,
was,
are you looking for horror movie tropes? This one literally has every one of them.
It was good.
I mean, there's only so many ways you can kill a person. We don't have to call them tropes. They're just ways to kill people when you're a subterranean monster. What do you want? Some kind of like Home Alone trap with like
Yeah,
micro machines
I
or something?
haven't seen that.
They're gonna bite. They're gonna
seen
claw
that.
your throat out.
Let's do a horror Home Alone, and I guarantee we're richer for having done it.
Oh, a horror Home Alone where Kevin is left in a cave. His family forgets he's down
well, let's
there.
get into the. We can discuss that next. But first, let's rate The Descent. I give it easily. It's my favorite horror movie. One of my favorite movies overall, hands down. Wow. I give it 5 out of 5. Ice axes through a crawler's skull easily.
Okay, Adam.
It was definitely the scares were effective, and the claustrophobia really scared me, and the horror trope of like something suddenly appearing scared me several times, but it got so gratuitous that after 40 minutes, I was laughing at like what lengths this film will go to.
That's kind of part of horror movies, but
I know you're right. Okay. You're right. It is kind of the horror experience of like I'm scared now. Okay, this is fucking fun. How over the top are they going to be? And then they got so over the top, I was like disgusted. So
you ate till you got full, and then you kept eating.
So I give it 3 out of 4. No, 3.5 out of 5. Misogynistic, bad.
That is such an interesting. I've watched this with many, many women, and women who will not hesitate to remark on misogyny and sexism in movies. They've never once have I heard that. It's been interesting. I would love to hear our listeners' take on that as well. It's interesting.
I didn't despise it. I didn't. I also didn't. It wasn't my favorite ever, but I enjoyed it, and I found some good scares. I will give it 3.75.
Okay. Very technical.
Whiteout contact lenses. I will give it, and I think that it was effective. I hated the girl who was into like extreme stuff at the beginning. I immediately was like,
she's gonna die pretty early in the movie.
Terrible, yeah. Like she comes down and she's like, I'm doing so fast down the line because I'm extreme and I do extreme stuff. That kind of thing. But for the most part, I thought it's an effective horror movie. There was some very scary parts, and honestly, I'm gonna rate them in order. Here we go. I'm going to rate them number 3, The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
For scariness.
Number 2, yes, for scariness.
And Christian propaganda.
Number 2, Gaia. And then number 1, The Descent. That would be my
I think we all agree.
In the scariest.
I think we all agree. I think we all agree. It's just the way that we got to this point of agreement that is so different. And I'm glad that we did this challenge. I think it did make the world better because it's fun to be scared and be outside yourself. It was fun to watch horror movies with my wife together. But it's damaged the relationship with me and Andrew. The fact that this is his favorite film, not just favorite horror movie, but his favorite movie, I don't want to collaborate with Andrew on projects now.
Look, every movie can't be a Wes Anderson film. There are other types of movies. There's other styles of filmmaking.
It's an adorable cave, and it's symmetrical.
Yeah. There's just like a little music box playing, and instead of goblin creatures, it's like fuzzy puppets that jump out and sell your homemade licorice sticks or something.
Yes.
This
That'd be
says
great.
a lot about you both, that the episode where I made you both fight each other wasn't the one where you got heated, and that one that tested your friendship. It was the one about horror movies, and this is the one that could break this.
You did it. Ben's revenge. Ben's revenge.
I got my revenge.
Cruel and quick.
I caused an argument.
I watched a bunch more movies. I know Ben watched some bonus movies too. We're going to discuss those on the Patreon if you want to check that out. There's plenty of bonus content.
I love you. I will collaborate on
No. The damage done. No,
Home Alone the Cave I want in on.
It's adult Macaulay Culkin. He's gotten lost in a caving system. Ancient Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci are stalking him through this cave system. He's got the Legos. He's got
the micro machines.
He's got a water slide to a pool underneath where they land safely, but kind of fucked up.
The Descent meets Home Alone.
And he's got a shingle with a nail in it. I love it. I love it all.
It's the Descent alone. Check it out. All right.
This was a fun episode.
Fun.
I too think it. I will definitely keep watching horror movies. Adam, do you think you will?
I've been binging them all month.
Yeah, if they're good, I think I'll
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'll ask Ben, I guess, for recommendations now.
All right, we got to get out of here. Why don't we do this? Let's take a break. We're going to listen to Stand Up.
All right.
From our live show that takes place the last Saturday of the month at the Bug Theater. We're going to do something we've never done before. Let's play a clip we've already played on the show because A, it's from Deborah DiGiovanni, one of the funniest comedians anywhere, anytime. And B, it's the perfect clip for this show, and I want to hear it again.
I think it's a good move.
So this is Deborah DiGiovanni doing one of our favorite clips from our live show. And in the meantime, if you want to check out our merch store, we have all new merch. People were clamoring for it, and we needed to update it. So that link's going to be in the show notes if you want to check that out. And we'll be back with more show. We'll be back with next episode's challenge and some more of this argument, I'm sure. So stick around.
So fucking mad.
I'll tell you, one of the reasons I don't want to die is because I don't want the coroner to know what my last meal was. Do you know what I mean? I don't need to be judged in that moment. Do you know what I'm talking about? They opened me up and they're like, it was just Oreos. It was just Oreos. It's probably what killed her. That's probably what's gonna take me. You can put money on it now, I'm not gonna lie. I gotta say, that'll be the COD, the cause of death, that's what that means, the COD. I watch a lot of shows about murder. Probably too many, to be honest. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because now I gotta say, a lot of cuckoo going in, so now cuckoo coming out. You know what I'm saying? Starting to leak out of me. It happens. I cannot put all the horror and the scary things into my brain and think I'm gonna live a happy life. You know what I'm talking about? So now I've started to make everyday or just regular life occurrences into horror movies in my own head. Do you ever do this? Do you ever need a snack so you have a handful of peanut butter? Do you know what I mean? Like a 4-finger right in. Oh, a twist, and then right up to the top. Let me say something to you. That is nature's spoon right there. Do you see this? First of all, no dishes, and you're fucking welcome. Do you understand what I'm saying? So many. I could start a magazine. It's so good. But have you ever done this? Warm hand, cold peanut butter? Fuck off. Are you joking? There's never a better day in your life, right? You're all gonna do it tomorrow, and you're welcome. Your wife will leave you, but who cares? Now, here's the thing. I don't care. Now, listen, do you ever do this, though? Do you ever open the jar of peanut butter and you panic because you don't recognize the tracks in the peanut butter jar? Do you ever do that? Do you ever open it up and you're like, oh, God. I don't remember that scoop. You took that scoop, and you assume someone has broken into your house, and they've been living in your crawl space waiting to murder you. Because I gotta tell you, that's what I would do if I was gonna murder someone. I'd have some fucking peanut butter. Do you know what I mean? A little protein.
And we are back. What an episode. And what a quiet house I've been left in. Adam and Ben are gone, leaving me to do the most fun part of every episode, the outro credits and all of the business. They left me a stack of their personal plugs to go through. And let me just tell you, absolutely not. If you want to know where those two assholes are performing, Google their names. I am not plugging that. What I would like to plug, though, is our show, The Grolics. You're probably familiar with it if you're listening to this podcast. But maybe you haven't been to the Grolics live show post-pandemic. And what I want to tell you, old guard, is that we finally have a sweet start time. It starts at 8 p.m. The biggest complaint pre-pandemic Grolics was that it started super late. It started at 11 at night. But now it starts at 8 p.m., so there's never been a better time to come check it out. And for those of you who have been attending, you rule. We love seeing you. I love meeting new people coming to the show, especially new fans of this podcast. It's very cool to hear fans of the podcast hooting when we mention the podcast. So thank you, new listeners, and especially listeners who come check us out, goofing around live and on stage. We have some additional bonus content on Patreon where Ben and I chat about more horror movies. If you have horror movie suggestions for us to watch, drop us a line. Let us know what we should be watching, because I have become numb to being scared by these movies. So check us out on social media. We're all over at Grolics Comedy. Drop us a line. Give us your scary movie recs. I probably already seen them, but hopefully not. Surprise me with something. big thanks to our hunched laboratory assistant, Ron DeShears Doyle. Thank you very much, Ron. A lot of people think of this podcast as The Monster when it is, in fact, Ron's Monster, if you want to be correct with it. You could say hi, Ron. Ben and Adam aren't here to be mean to you. So if you want to chime in.
That's right. I can talk now. There's room.
Yeah, we got the house to ourselves. We can do anything we want. It's like Home Alone. We're ordering pizza. I'm pretending to shave. It rules. Also, huge shout out to the spectral Charlie Continental providing our theme song. What are we going to do next episode? I guess I get to choose this challenge because there's no one to say otherwise. We can do whatever I want, which is why we will be playing a Magic the Gathering tournament. You heard it here first.
They're not going to play it.
They would never let me do that. Instead, our next episode is going to air around Thanksgiving. So I'm thinking it's time to dethrone Ben from his throne of baking lies. Those of you who have heard every episode know that Ben won the last baking challenge, which is absolute unfiltered horse shit, and it needs to be corrected. Ben needs to have his crown taken away from him. So it's going to involve baking. It's going to involve Thanksgiving. It's going to involve us somehow trying to get along at a dinner table. We'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, Ben would normally say something to wrap up the episode, but I'm not going to say it. I'm not even going to give Ben the satisfaction sitting there in Jacksonville playing scratcher tickets or whatever he's doing. I'm just going to end the episode. Check us out online and on our Patreon, and we'll see you next episode. Goodbye.